The Fullbring, or Lost Shinigami arc, is easily the most controversial segment in the entirety of Bleach. Many fans consider it the lowest point of the main story, and the fact that it's sandwiched between two of its highest points doesn't do much to help its case. The abrupt change of pace after what initially feels like an excellent ending point for the series really left readers and viewers with a sense of whiplash many just couldn't recover from. In fact, there are anime only fans to this day that mistake it for filler content. And I can personally remember being tempted to drop the series myself due to my own frustrations with the story at the time. It's been a while since then though, so I feel like now's as good a time as any to take advantage of the resurging hype to talk about why the Fullbring arc is actually much, much better than you remember it being. As a consequence of his final battle with Aizen, Ichigo loses all his spirit energy, and the arc begins by showing us how he's been adjusting to his new normal life. Unlike before, he can't even see ghosts anymore, so this is actually Ichigo's first real taste of true civilian life, which would have been interesting to see about several seasons ago. As I was saying, this arc sits in one hell of a valley right in between peak and hype. After all the intense action we've been building up towards throughout this whole series, the hard left turn into slice of life can feel pretty out of place at a glance. For many, myself included, it all just felt really disconnected and aimless, and apart from Ichigo getting his powers restored at the end, it can be hard to feel like any of the other events that take place leading up to that point ever even mattered. So just imagine my eureka moment when this segment of the story completely shifted my perception of the Thousand Year Blood War and Bleach as a whole. Admittedly, there's a lot going on though, so let's start right at the beginning. We start off, like I mentioned earlier, by observing how Ichigo is adapting to his new life as an NPC. And throughout the first few episodes, it's clear that despite his seemingly natural adjustment to the mundane, he's still definitely struggling with the fact that he isn't able to be the protector he's grown himself into. Now that he's given up that part of his identity, it's hard to know where, and more importantly, how he fits into everyone's lives now. Interestingly enough, Ichigo's friends and family seem to be having an equally rough time of it now that the roles have been reversed. Even though it's good intentions all round and they're ultimately all working to support each other, there's a clear tension throughout the group as everyone tries to adjust to their new roles, and it's this tension that pretty much leads to everything that takes place moving forwards. For starters, Ginjo is able to initially grab Ichigo's attention only once he intentionally instigates that protector nature of his in order to sow doubt in his friend's ability to handle business without him. And once things get so out of control that even he can't be kept completely out of the loop anymore, that doubt understandably starts to take hold. Urahara and his dad are sneaking around in actual back alleys having secret meetings, while Karin quietly is out fighting hollows in Ichigo's stead, again with the assistance of Urahara, who by the way looks uncharacteristically nervous despite clearly being ahead of the curve on what's going on. As usual, once Ishida and his school friends become targets for our mystery baddie shortly thereafter, he decides to take the bait in order to try and get to the bottom of things on his own. But instead of answers, he's abruptly offered a chance at recovering his Shinigami powers with the help of Ginjo, his friends, and a brand new ability he calls Fullbring. Alright, it's time to address the Nina in the room. The actual Fullbring power system is one of the most misunderstood aspects of Bleach's story as a whole, and that kinda sucks because it's actually pretty cool and contributes way more than you might think to Bleach's lore and world building. Hollows, Shinigami, and Quincy all have their own unique power systems totally unique to themselves alone. But we also know that humans can interact with and manipulate spiritual energy in their own unique ways as well, although to lesser and different degrees. The details of exactly how this works is fleshed out through the power of Fullbring, which is the uniquely human ability to draw out the latent spirit energy present in real-world objects that the individuals become most familiar with. In doing so, they can then use that energy to alter that object's shape or nature. It's not an ability that just anyone can cultivate or use if they wanted to, however. Everyone with access to this ability is able to do so because they were affected by the hollows that attacked their mothers during pregnancy. Now, they just kind of slipped this in here, but if I'm correct, this is actually our first concrete clue that Ichigo's mother might have been more than just a humble housewife. This would mean that she had to have had at least one other major altercation with the Hollow before the attack that resulted in her death. That would also explain what Ginjo was hinting at when he points out how little Ichigo actually knows about his family history, and why that would bother him so much despite the fact that Ishin already offered to tell him everything the moment he was ready. With the current situation at hand being as urgent as it is, we don't get the opportunity to explore what this might mean just yet. It does, however, help to get us asking some questions before the Kurosaki How I Met Your Mother TV special that's on the horizon, though. Apart from all that, both Chad and Orihime are classified as Fullbringers themselves, bringing them some much needed spotlight while they too adjust to the responsibility of watching over and teaching Ichigo as he figures out all this Fullbring business. Speaking of Fullbring business, Ginjo wraps up his exposition dump and closes off by explaining that developing and combining Ichigo's powers with his and the rest of his crew can restore his Shinigami powers while at the same time freeing them of theirs. Since their powers aren't exactly heaven sent, everybody wins. Except this isn't what Ichigo came here for. He still knows absolutely nothing about what's going on with his friends or who his mystery enemy is and their objective. So as far as he's concerned, he's back at square one. It doesn't take him too long to have a change of heart though. When he's powerless to protect Yuzu from some no-name Hollow of the Week a couple days later, he's forced to accept that he doesn't have the luxury to be stubborn and decides to take Ginjo's offer. Cue the training arc. Unfortunately, time is seriously working against them. Soon after Ichigo begins to awaken to his abilities, Ginjo reveals that our big bad is a former comrade of theirs named Tsukishima that betrayed them in a bid for more power. While Ichigo does his best to speed through his training as fast as possible, Tsukishima continues to stir the pot, targeting Ichigo's friends and family one by one, using abilities that no one, not even Ginjo, can seem to make sense of. Since he's too powerful and unpredictable with this mystery ability of his, their only option is to focus on Ichigo's training to get his Shinigami powers back. Unlike other abilities, Fullbring users are unable to develop their powers past the point of completion, so nobody even has a chance at this other than the Deathberry himself. It's also the reason why everyone seems to be at a loss when it comes to Tsukishima's new abilities. It feels like we're quickly working our way towards a final altercation as Ichigo completes his Fullbring shortly thereafter. The variety and creativity that goes into all of the different abilities in Bleach is still one of its strongest qualities, even years after the fact, so I can't say that I completely don't understand the lack of hype surrounding this new form of Ichigo's, but it really is fitting when you stop and think about it. Every single one of the Drip God's power-ups has been a straight physical buff. No bells, no whistles, just hands. And nearly all of them have been either symbolized or just straight up contained within the clothes he's wearing. There's a Space Shinigami form, of course, but his Bankai also consists of his clothes as well as the sword, and even acts as a gauge for how much energy he's got left in the tank. His Hollow Mask works in a similar way. All of the abilities in Bleach come directly from the core nature of a person's identity. So Ichigo never develops any elaborate abilities like Betchya, for example, because despite how sharp and perceptive he can be, deep down he's really just your typical Unga Bunga strength build. And I respect that. His deepest desire is to have the power and ability within himself to be able to protect those around him. It may not be the most unique power set I've ever seen, but let's be honest, bless his heart, but Ichigo's rarely ever had a plan more detailed than,
I'ma deck you in the schnoz.
Let's get back to matters on hand though, because very shortly thereafter, the true nightmare begins. Almost as if on cue, Tsukishima finally makes a move for his power play, and before we even realize what's happening, we've suddenly devolved from slice of life into straight-up psychological horror. Unaware that the fight's already on, Ichigo returns home after another day of conditioning with Ginjo and is greeted by Yuzu, who lets him know that a cousin of theirs that they haven't seen in a while has suddenly dropped by for a visit. Neither we nor Ichigo have enough time to process what's happening as Yuzu begins to reminisce about old memories Ichigo's hearing about for the first time. His confusion turns into stunned horror as Karin joins the conversation, and she and Tsukishima engage in some casual banter before Ichigo finally snaps. Reality grimly starts to set in as his sisters try to figure out why he's acting so weird, before nearly all of his school friends suddenly decide to drop in. Apparently, they were all invited by their longtime friend Tsukishima. The nail in the coffin? He calls Orihime in the middle of his living room and actually activates his power over her right in front of him. 100% justified crash out. This is some of the most diabolical behavior I have ever seen from anyone in this entire series. And it just keeps getting worse. Everyone starts turning on him at this point, and it soon becomes clear that Tsukishima's been just as busy as Ichigo during his time spent training. Once he realizes he's out of allies, He bumps into Ginjo, who fills him in on how Tsukishima got to the rest of his crew. And once they get a moment to catch their breath, they're finally able to piece together that his sword allows him to insert his presence anywhere within the memories of anyone cut by it. And it's currently unclear whether or not killing him can even undo this effect, meaning they may already be locked in a no-win scenario. They're tracked down just as they found their resolve, but instead of attacking, they're invited over to Tsukishima's mansion. And once they get there, all hell breaks loose immediately. He picks up right where he left off with his mental assault, and although he's initially able to get the upper hand, Ichigo quickly begins to unravel as he's forced to use the new powers he's gained against the people he developed them for in the first place. Tsukishima takes advantage of this moment of inner conflict, but Ginjo is able to intercept at the last moment. They brace themselves for one final assault before his powers take hold, but the plot twists are far from over. At that moment, Ishida, who's finally been released from the hospital, shows up ready to get in on the action. Considering current circumstances, however, it's not clear as yet what his purpose on the battlefield is. His words barely reach a nearly brain-broken Ichigo by this point, who's playing Spanish guitar with his last few brain cells trying to wrap his mind around this latest development. He's still stuck in a 404 error as Ishida readies his bow and aims at Ichigo while simultaneously reassuring him that he's an ally. No conflicting messages here, and then he drops this bombshell. Despite being such a loser, don't worry, we'll get to it. This reveal was magnificently executed. Ginjo looks like a villain almost immediately after arriving on screen for the very first time, but both we the viewer and Ichigo are so completely caught in his web and overwhelmed by now that it still comes completely out of left field. Throughout the arc, we get to see through both Chad and Orihime that Tsukishima's power, Book of the End, doesn't exactly take effect immediately, which explains why he had to take his time going around to each of Ichigo's friends and family well in advance. A task facilitated by Ginjo, who helped keep Ichigo out of his way in the meantime, working away at developing his Fullbring. In order to win over his trust, Ginjo and Co. have Tsukishima write over their own memories, and upon being cut a second time, as he explains, they can quickly return to normal and waste no time in proceeding with the next steps of the plan. During Ichigo's training, we also learn that Fullbring development benefits greatly from distress, which is why they would even go through all this trouble just to mess with him in the first place. Once Ginjo ends his villain monologue victory lap explaining the whole thing, they finally complete their true objective by stealing Ichigo's Fullbring power to share amongst themselves instead of the other way around, leaving Ichigo completely destitute. This all started because he wanted to continue being a protector in the lives of his friends, and now he's left with neither. And for a while, it genuinely breaks him, and he's brought to what is possibly his lowest point in the entire series, in one final act of defiance. And supposedly, with a hole still in his chest, he gathers himself up, ready to go down fighting, but fortunately for Ichigo, we've still got several more plot twists and about 4 or so more pages before we can start wrapping this up. Just as it's looking like checkmate, Urahara and Isshin, who, if you can remember, have been scheming in the background all season, finally show their hand. A few episodes earlier on, it's revealed that Rukia has made her way back to the human world and has been helping our two favorite shifty old men to create the sword that's now sticking out of Ichigo's chest. Except it's less of a stab in the back and more of an emergency jumpstart. Last vid I pointed out that Old Man Zangetsu's got Ichigo on allowance with his own spirit energy, and he really doesn't enjoy seeing Ichigo on the battlefield, so it makes sense that he would take the opportunity to give him a normal life once it presented itself. That said, he's got such an insane amount of the stuff, there's no possible way he could keep it all sealed away forever. That's been a fact from the very beginning. We only get 2 episodes into the arc before Ishida notices that Ichigo's already radiating spirit energy. One other thing I wanted to note is that this new form of Ichigo's is actually the true form of his Fullbring and Shinigami powers combined. Ginjo's got no idea just how massive Ichigo's capacity for spirit energy is, so although he's got some of his powers back, he can't tell that he still isn't fully back to normal yet and steals it while it's still incomplete. Once he gets hit with the full restore, the 2 powers are finally able to merge completely, resulting in this new appearance. And since we know his powers are contained within his clothes, you can absolutely assume that these changes to what he's wearing are a direct reflection to how his abilities have changed or grown. Lots of people say that Ichigo's Fullbring powers never mattered in the end, but despite it being a bit harder to tell, he's essentially walking around with 2 active stat multipliers simultaneously. That is an exponential spike in power. He is a monster at this point. Back to center stage, this entire scene is reminiscent of the very beginning of the series when Rukia first grants Ichigo his Soul Reaper abilities. And it also acts as a major reminder that his friends and family in the real world aren't the only ones that owe him a debt of gratitude. After a brief pep talk with Rukia, we don't even get a chance to fully appreciate the return of the First Lady of Bleach before the cavalry arrives. Being several chess moves ahead of everyone always, Urahara prepares a sword of spirit energy made to restore Ichigo's powers, and has all of his friends and allies from Soul Society contribute their own spirit energy towards that end. You see this? This right here? Historic moment. As Ichigo himself points out, what they just did here is highly illegal by their own standards. Transferring powers to a human is what originally put Rukia's head on the chopping block with no questions asked. Now, we got the captain commander of the 13 Court Guard squads Breaking Bad. Not only that, he orders the rest of the squad captains and their lieutenants to contribute as well. It really is hard to overstate how monumental this all is. Soul Society is so bound by tradition and bureaucracy that they've committed to keeping the wheels of reality turning, even though they don't fully understand exactly what it is they're doing half the time. And they're not exactly paragons of righteousness either. Hitsugaya says just about as much. This isn't even the kind of decision that they'd consider entertaining before Ichigo hero landed into everyone's lives. Enough of the sentimentality though, because we've still got at least 2 more twists and turns left to this plot. And the first one comes as Toshido confirms our suspicions by this point by explaining that Ginjo was the preceding substitute Shinigami before Ichigo, who abruptly quit one day and then just vanished. No time for a proper lore dump as yet though, as Urahara and Isshin take advantage of the chaos to remove Ichigo's friends from the battlefield. At the same time, the rest of the Fullbring squad shows up to receive their share of the Deathberry pie, and everyone grabs a dance partner. You may have noticed by now that I haven't really said all that much about the Fullbring crew. That's because they're boring. Seriously, even the characters that do have any real depth to them all provide underwhelming performances in their final acts, along with the rest of their team. Don't get me wrong though, this isn't the result of bad writing. This was a deliberate choice. Take Ginjo for example. I already mentioned that apart from that master scheme of his, he's pretty underwhelming as an individual. He doesn't have any remarkable or noteworthy traits or abilities, and he doesn't have the same commanding presence or authority when compared to other leader figures across Bleach. It's no secret either. His capability and reliability are both called into question several times over the course of the arc by the rest of his squad. And the whole reason they even had to write over his memory in the first place was because he couldn't put on a convincing enough performance to win Ichigo over on his own. In a way, he's the Ichigo that couldn't. Whereas the real deal Holyfield genuinely wants to protect his friends and live alongside them, Ginjo uses those around him as stepping stones and sacrificial pawns so he can be the one to sit on top and look down for once. Ichigo is humble, whereas Ginjo is overconfident to the point of recklessness and arrogance. He's such a risless loser that Ichigo even comments to himself that he can't sense an actual personality behind it all when they cross swords. And this is something that's been consistent both before and after his memory is restored. So that's just the person he is. The worst part is, Ginjo knows it. He's just a grown man in his 30s throwing a temper tantrum. That's why he seems so empty as a character. It's because deep down, he is genuinely an empty person. He's dissatisfied both with himself and his position in life, so he decides to take from those who have what he doesn't. He says the right words to rally his already vulnerable by design group of friends, but he's no charismatic leader, so their bonds end up superficial at best. Once they're faced with a real ride or die squad, most buckle without so much as a push. Even Tsukishima, after that diabolical display, turns out to just be a little baby that wouldn't know how to get dressed on his own if Ginjo didn't give him explicit, detailed instructions on how to do so beforehand. And it doesn't help that his powers essentially boil down to the ability to gaslight anyone into close friendship. They were all comfortable operating in their own little bubble under precisely orchestrated circumstances because that's all they can do. The ones that can't adapt among them learn this the hard way. Interestingly though, the rest that are able to face and accept that fact are rewarded with freedom and a shot at a fresh start. Before that though, there's still one more battle left to play itself out. By now, Ginjo can smell the blood in the water, so he resorts to the only original ability he seems to possess, the power of manipulation. You see, the Soul Society crew didn't just show up to hit Ichigo with the emergency defibrillator, they came to find out what he'd decide upon learning the truth about what it really means to be a substitute Soul Reaper. His combat pass that supposedly authorizes him for the position has never carried any real weight in the past, and we've never given it much thought, but when Ginjo encourages Ichigo to remember what he was told upon receiving it in the first place, things begin to fall into place. The pass was never a badge of authorization. It's a surveillance tool, meant to absorb, analyze, and restrict Ichigo's powers at the behest of Soul Society in order to better ascertain his usefulness to them. Once he found out, Ginjo felt betrayed by the Soul Society and he turned his back on them. And that's how this whole thing got started. After the big reveal though, all Ichigo's got to say in response is, our boy's been on an insane roller coaster of a journey over these past few weeks. But at the end of it all, his biggest takeaway is learning that he doesn't have all the answers. Even as the protector, he understands that he doesn't always have all the pieces of the puzzle, and learning to be vulnerable and asking for help doesn't betray his sense of identity. He just had the Soul Society break one of its most sacred traditions on his behalf. He's quite literally walking around with everyone's spirit energy inside him right now. And unlike Ginjo, he understands that even through their so-called surveillance, they have always trusted him to do the right thing. So he has no problem doing the same in return. I mean, honestly, if you really think about it, he really is just some random human being running around the real world with spirit energy rivaling the most powerful captains in the guard. Not to mention, he's also harboring the powers of the Hollow, the sworn enemy of Shinigamis everywhere. Even he doesn't fully understand what he is just yet, so it's not super unreasonable for Soul Society to want to keep tabs on him at all times, especially considering his powers would frequently go out of control on him until relatively recently. In the end, I genuinely feel like this arc serves as a much more fitting end to the series at the time than the previous one. With all that's happened recently, not only does it feel like Ichigo's firmly reforged all his bonds, it feels like he's finally become a true member of Soul Society too. He can really call this place his home, and see these people as trusted friends and family. Hell, by the time the 1,000-year Blood War rolls around, he's even got a fancy reputation among the rank-and-file Shinigami as a famous powerhouse. And understanding how this dynamic between Ichigo and the Soul Society has evolved is one of the most important things to know going into Bleach's final arc. We did hit the 20-minute mark a little while ago though, so I'm just gonna go ahead and call it here for now. Oh man, it is finally done. I know this one was a long time coming, but hopefully it was worth the wait. This is my longest video to date, so I'm a little nervous as to how my viewer retention is going to look after all this, but regardless, I had fun, and if you guys like it, I might even make some more long videos like this in the future. In any case, I'm already working on the next, and it is not a shonen title, so you've got that to look forward to as well. Until then, peace.